Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
I heard that morning cough.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay,
Morning, everyone.
I'm gonna get set up here.
How are you doing today, Lindsay?
I'm running a few minutes late because I was a little sick.
Oh,
a
I
minute ago.
was thinking.
Yeah.
How was your getaway?
Oh, it was nice. It was nice to throw up somewhere new. It was very nice.
Well, at least this kind of flu, you have an end date.
Yes, exactly. I'm halfway there.
Now you're at the stage where you just get big.
Yes. Got some new stretch marks.
New clothes.
Yes, I went through all my clothes last weekend and tried everything on and put stuff away that it's like, this does no longer fit me. I'll come back to it next year.
Yeah, women usually by their 8th month, they look longingly at their old clothes and say, will I ever?
Yeah,
Stretch pants and loose shirts are getting a little bit tired.
exactly. Okay, I think we are live now on Facebook, which is great. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So today we're going to be talking about objections. So last week we talked about recruiting, we talked about follow-up, we talked about like really simple recruiting strategies, things that we can implement right away, how to start some of those conversations. So while I'm setting this up, I'd love to hear from you guys, just, what's been going on this week? Like what kind of conversations have you had? What's come up for you? You can either unmute yourself or you can share as well in the chat, up to you.
Lindsay, I haven't kept up much with the social media. I have to apologize, but my daughter's been helping me, and because she's also a teacher and I wasn't sure, she doesn't have that much time, but some of the more important things to get her started to help me, she's kind of my office assistant now, but I thought, well, I thought I'll get on because social media hasn't really been something I understand a lot because I haven't participated, but I wondered where would I start her where it's going to be the least amount of time. She knows a lot. I mean, she's very good on the internet. So what I think I need to do is to direct her. Arlene and I are kind of working to try to figure out what would be time consuming and what would be valuable.
Yeah, I would definitely, so 2 places the first place I would start is honestly with the social media studio and getting some posts scheduled there so that you know that you have consistent content that's going up that's related to Manatech.
Yeah, she's doing that. She is doing, she's doing that all the time, but she's kind of cut back a little because I mean, she doesn't maybe do only 2 or 3 a week now, but she was doing them every day for me.
Right. Yeah. And then probably setting up I would say set up a group for you so you can have a place to really pull all your leads so you know exactly who to talk to every single week, because when we put posts out on social media, having them have a call to action is really important. And so something as simple as like join my group if you're interested in learning more about the product or the business opportunity. At least then when you have people moving over into there, this is somebody that I need to reach out to and send a private message to.
Oh, because right now she's not putting them on my Facebook page. She's putting them in my group. I have a called Social Entrepreneurs Uniting to End World Hunger. So she's putting everything on there, but nothing unless I move it over to so it's just a little confusing. I don't know where to find a training that could show her, me also how to do this. So without starting all over.
Yeah, I would look through the social media academy that we have and look at I'd have to look at some of the topics.
Okay.
But when it comes to building a group, because groups are so important because we know that these are going to be some of our top leads, because anyone who's joined the group, we know they're the most interested in being in the group and learning.
Okay.
But the misconception is that when we start a group, that most of our time needs to be spent in it. Most of our time actually needs to be spent outside of it, marketing more people to get into the group.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's always finding more people. It's just like, we can get tripped up in that too. And in our business that we spend so much time working in it. So working with just our current customers or working on like admin tasks and things like that, we forget, oh, I haven't talked to anybody new this week. How am I developing more leads? Because lead generation is always going to be like the top thing we need to do every single day. How can I talk to someone new? How can I get somebody new in my group? How can I let someone know about my business? And I think this is a great topic. I think maybe we revisit this next week as well, just as like an entire training of, okay, like let's look back at our group, because we go through so many topics every single week that let's start going back to some of the most important ones and talking about what should I still be doing here? What have I maybe missed from previous trainings? How do I get more people? And you know what, maybe we make it around like, what should I do in a day on social media? Like, let's make it really simple so that either you can do it, or if any of you have, just like Ginny has somebody like her daughter working with her, you could say, hey, this is the training I need you to go watch, or here are the slides. This is exactly our daily mode and weekly mode of operation in regards to social. How does that sound?
That would be super. Yeah, that I
Okay.
think, because I'm sure I'm not alone. There's other people coming in that know social media, but we need to know how we do the Manatech social media kind of step by step too.
Yeah, and I know like Tony just said, I agree. Peggy said you have my vote, because I know Peggy has been working on setting up a new group for herself too. So let's do that next week. We'll focus on what are some things, and you know what, even as we go through the training today, feel free to ask some of those different types of questions, especially at the end as well. Like, that's for everybody.
Okay.
Anything that comes up, because I want you guys to come to the trainings every week too with like, hey, here's what I'm going through this week. Not everything needs to be a formal training. Sometimes it can be like, this is a coaching and mentoring session where you guys can just come with questions and I can answer them. So why don't we do that over the next 2 weeks? Next week, we'll focus on like the daily and weekly modes of operation for social. What should I be doing? Sort of like a 1, 2, 3. And then the week after, let's just do more of like a consulting, coaching session where you guys can bring questions. Does that sound good?
Lindsay,
Awesome.
I don't know if you
Great.
can hear me. But I would,
Yes.
sorry, Ginny, I hope I didn't cut you off. Were you finished, Ginny?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I just love that. I'm struggling with my private group and my regular Facebook group. And the issue for me is I want to put all this value into my regular Facebook because I want to bring people over into the private. So sometimes it's just like I do a Facebook Live and then I just transfer it into my private group. So I'm really struggling with that. The other thing is I did buy the book with Jeff Walter and launch, and I want to do a launch, but I haven't done one. I don't know if anybody else has done one in this group, but I don't know. I'm afraid to do the launch. I'm just being honest. I'm one of those people who just gives value, but is always afraid to ask. And so I don't know if we could just kind of go through something about that. And my goal was to do intermittent fasting for the month of February. Now I'm in March and we're still doing intermittent fasting, but intermittent fasting is so connected to your liver health. So I want to do a challenge for liver health and put out good, better, and best. And I just don't know. I'm just afraid. I guess the bottom line is I'm afraid to do it. So that's my.
No,
Thank you,
I think,
Lindsay. I appreciate your help.
of course, I think this is great. And I think, you know what, like even today's training is on overcoming objections. And I will say that, so on every slide, what I have is like an objection and like a script that you can use. What time is it right now? It's 11:12 right now, my time. So we have 45 minutes-ish left. I'm going to answer Joan's questions. Let's take some questions right now. And then we can kind of quickly go through this because you guys are all very intelligent people that you could honestly read through most of these slides and understand, oh, that's a great way to respond to that question, right? This doesn't need as like much nitty gritty going through. Do we all feel okay about taking that direction? Let's answer some questions right now. And then I can even post these slides and I'll take the slides down for right now, but we can quickly go through them at the end, especially if someone has questions about objections. And then what we can do is I will just download it as a PDF. So you have all the scripting there, right? Because I have like, I'm too busy, I don't have enough money, I need to talk to my spouse, I've, you know, I haven't done this before, like just things like that. I don't want to be a salesperson. So some different objections, and then I have some scripting underneath of it. And I think that's pretty simple for all of you guys to read. Does that sound good for everybody? Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's sort of, I'm going to answer Jones right now, and we'll kind of recap that. And then I do want to go back to Ginny momentarily also. Did we lose Ginny? Oh no, she's right there.
I'm here.
I like, couldn't find your face for a second because you all moved around when I stopped
That's
sharing
right.
my screen. And then, yeah, so Peggy asked, did you ever get your social media Facebook group approved by Corp? I did, and I promoted it and posted about it a bunch of times, and pretty much nobody joined. And so I just didn't really like move forward with it because I just couldn't get anyone to, I posted it a few different times in North America, promoting that we had set up a new group. So yay, thanks, Joellen. She said I joined. She's like patiently waiting. So I can resend that in the chat at the end as well.
What's the difference between join and accepting a friend invite? Someone
It's the
to
same
join,
thing.
someone to join your group. Oh, that's the same thing?
Yeah. So it's
Oh.
called Manatech Social Media with Lindsay Tompkins.
What was
Joan,
it?
you're in there.
Yep.
There's a few of you in there. But definitely use that always as a place to ask me questions. Like if you tag me in the question, just things get so lost in Manatech North America.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to, and it helps me that instead of having one-off conversations with people, everyone gets to benefit from the question and answer, right? Because most of you have the exact same questions. And so it just makes it a lot easier. We can all sort of learn in one spot. So it's Manatech Social Media with Lindsay Tompkins.
Okay.
If anyone wants to share the URL, otherwise I will once I start answering some questions. Okay, so let's break down what Joan had mentioned again. So what was the first part about the question, Joan, before you moved into, or problems you were having before you moved into the launch? Because I remember that question.
I struggle with, I'm trying to put most of the value on my regular Facebook page because I want to have conversations with people, invite them into my private group. So then my private group, if they're going to come over there, needs to be more than what's going on in my Facebook group. And I'm struggling with that. I'm trying to pour so much value into my regular Facebook group, and then I get kind of overwhelmed and do the same thing in my private group. And I think, why would anybody join?
Right. So what I love to look at, and that's a really, really great question, is how do I differentiate? So essentially what she's asking everyone is, how do I differentiate what I post to my personal page or my business page to what happens inside my group? Because to get someone in the group, they need to feel like there's extra value to go there. So how do I differentiate those two without, she didn't ask this part, but I'll say, without adding so much more to my plate that I'm now trying to come up with so much more content. Mm-hmm. And so the way I'd love to look at this is always market your content on your personal page and deliver the content in your group. So let's say, for example, you want to talk about intermittent fasting, okay? And you guys are the experts on this so much more than I am. Let's say you hop on, whether it's a Facebook Live or you do a post on your personal page, and you say something like, here is why you need to care about intermittent fasting. Give them just a few different things. It helps with this, it helps with that, it helps with the other thing. But tomorrow or this afternoon in my group, I'm going to be teaching you my 3 secrets about intermittent fasting that you need to be successful. right? So we teach a lot on our personal page and we give away all the information and we don't know what to talk about. So always think, what is like the main thing I want to talk about? Steps 1, 2, 3, how to be successful with intermittent fasting. That's going to happen inside the group, right? And so I know now to get more people in the group to go watch that training, I need to go to my personal page and say, here's why you need to care about intermittent fasting. And today at 2:00, I'm going live in my private Facebook group, and I'm giving you my 3 top secrets to be successful at intermittent fasting. It's the how, right? Your public facing is always the why. We so often jump into the how, and oftentimes people, we start giving them instructions, but they don't even know, well, why should I care about these instructions? Why should I be doing these things? What we talk about publicly needs to point to the problems that people have, right? And say, here's, I see this, I know that you're experiencing this, and here's why it's important to talk about it. And I'm going to give you the answers in my group. So it's the question outside, but the answer inside. That way you're not doubling up your content. You're not thinking of new content. It's actually ends up being just a part 1 and a part 2, essentially. That's helpful, Joan? Okay, great. Everyone always think simple, simple, simple. Like I said, your group is where it's the meat and potatoes, right? It's where it's going to happen. It's the television show. I know I always use a TV show as an example, but it's the content. Everything that's on your personal page or your business page are like the commercials promoting that show, right? It's like the little snippets. You could even go on live, for example, because you see like a trailer, right, for an episode or a movie, and it makes you really want to watch it. You could say in your Facebook Live, even if you wanted to go this direction, you could say, here are the top 3 ways to be successful with intermittent fasting. And you give them number 1. And then you say, if you want to find out number 2 and 3, join my group. Right? So it's either here's why, join my group to learn how, or you give away one secret, but in order for them to get the other 2 steps, they have to join your group. And the reason why I love groups is, well, number 1, on social media, we know that Facebook is pushing groups more than ever. Facebook pages, how many of you have a business page? How many of you see any sort of success or engagement on your business page? Pretty much nothing, because unfortunately, it is a pay to play place on social media. So what Facebook does is obviously, Facebook presents itself as an open, community platform, a social media, but it's a business, right? And how it is social media, we don't pay anything to be on Facebook. You don't pay anything to start up a group or start up a page. So how does Facebook make money? Through ads. And so a long time ago, not even a long time ago, maybe like even 7 years ago, it was easier to grow on a business page because people were seeing your content in the newsfeed, because Facebook wanted to bring attention to businesses, because they said, if I'm going to put some attention on these business posts, these business owners are going to go, wow, people are seeing my products and services. I want to spend some money here, right? And so what happened is, over time, there was so many pages, and Facebook goes, this is going to be a pay to play. So unless you're buying ads, people are really not going to see your content on your business page. So it's not that business pages aren't a good strategy to use. They really can be. But you have to look at where you're at with social media and your business and what you're willing to learn and invest. It is definitely more of like a high level than anything is your business page, is because, again, like, you are having to learn Facebook ads. You also have to learn like the analytics side of it, right? Like, is the money I'm spending here, am I getting a return on it? I have one business that I do use my business page for, and it is successful for me only because I spend money on almost every single post that I do. My other bit, like this business, I don't, because I don't get the engagement there, and it's not worth it. Now, what some people do is they do populate it, right? Where they go, like, for example, I post whatever I post to Instagram, you can connect it So whatever you post goes to Facebook. That's now you're just populating it for the sake of it, right? And going, if somebody ever landed here, they'd at least have something to read. That's why if you do have a business page, you don't have to necessarily abandon it, but I just check in on it every so often. Check your messages. If something exciting's going on, you could even put up a cover photo on so that large photo at the top of your business page that says, hey, like join the party. The real training happens in my group. And it's just, you can pin a post to the top that says, if you're here and you're interested in learning more about what I offer and Manitech's products and business opportunity, join my Facebook group here. This is where I'm the most active. So if anybody ever did happen to land there, you're at least telling them, no, here's where I really am, right? It's like if someone came to your store and you moved, you'd put a little sign on the door that says, we've actually moved to, 123 Main Street, right? You do have to do a little bit of that.
How do I know if it's a group or a page?
So,
I don't know what I have even, I don't think.
So a Facebook page here, let me just, let's do this.
Isn't the word group in the URL?
Yes, that's actually a great way to check it. The group would be in the URL. So let's go to Facebook right now. There's a few different things. So one, definitely looking at the URL. Let's go to Manitech.
If I'd have been on all your trainings, I probably should know this, but I just
No, that's okay.
know the difference here.
So
Don't worry, because if you've been on all her trainings, you forget a lot. So that's why we have the videos.
Yes, there's so much. So this is a Facebook group or a page, sorry. This is a Facebook business page. So some different things to look out for. It will be facebook.com/ whatever the business page title is. Like Peggy mentioned, if this was a group, and I'll show you a group in a minute, you will see the word group here. Another thing to look out for if you're not quite sure is that pages have likes. So a certain amount of likes, not members. If you see in a group, it has, 30 members, that's a group. This is what a page looks like. Okay, this is obviously like I'm an admin on this page, so I can see some insights here on the corner, but it's all public facing. So anybody can come to this page and see the content. If we look at Manitech North America, which will be funny, this will be a little meta. We'll see the live of us going live in here. So this is a group. So it can, like at first glance, look very, very similar, especially if like the cover photos are the same. But right here, it'll say underneath, it's a group. And then it has members.
Oh, okay.
So this is a group. You'll see whether people, like if you've joined the group or not. If I wasn't in this group, then it would look a little bit different. I wouldn't see all of these posts. See, here we are.
So a group is better than a page, or a page better than a
Yes.
group? Okay, the group is
Yes.
better. I think
May I
I
make a comment here about group? I have a group and it's private, and I've discovered you cannot convert it to public. But if you go public on a group and you want to make it private, you can go that way, but you can't go the other way. So be careful what you choose at first.
Oh, I thought that. I'll double check on that because you should.
I've double checked. Well, yeah, check on it, because what I've seen is you cannot make a private group public. But if you find how you can, please let me know.
Yeah, you mean a public group private?
You can do public to private, but you can't do private to public. So if you set it up as private group,
Oh, do you know what?
it's stuck there.
The reason why I thought you meant the opposite way. So my initial thought for why that may be true, which, do you know what? You don't want a public group anyway. So I'll answer that question in just a moment. But the reason why I could see that's true is that when people create a private group, it's because it's like, hey, we've created a closed community where we can be like vulnerable with each other. And I may be sharing something that I've agreed that there's some level of privacy to this. And then it's like, oh, and now you're just sharing, you know, what I've said with the world. There is other things as well in groups now that people can actually post anonymously, which can be, has its pros and cons. Obviously the cons are you don't know who's posting it. Sometimes it can also create a little bit more like internet trolls in terms of people can say whatever they want. But it also allows for a bit of anonymity when people are embarrassed to ask a question. And so it can be a really powerful feature in that, like, you can see a question that maybe somebody may be afraid to ask. But that is my initial reaction to why Facebook wouldn't let you go private to public. Now, the reason why you don't ever want a public group is the same reason why it's important to have a group. So when we have just our personal page or a business page or a public Instagram account, we are giving, like Joan mentioned, she's giving away so much content for free all of the time, but sometimes is either afraid to ask for the sale or she's not getting anything in return. So it's important that we have exchanges in our business, that it's benefiting both me and the person that's consuming my content. The way that I'm benefited by somebody consuming my free content is that they become, I capture their information, whether that's an email address or they join a private group that I have, because I'm able to, one, measure my influence. Because if it's public, I could go, let's say like Joan's group is public, I could go watch all of Joan's videos and never join her group, which means she will never know that I'm there and she'll never know that I'm watching. It's important that Joan knows, I posted about intermittent fasting, I promoted my Facebook group, and then Lindsay came and requested to join my Facebook group. This is why I personally don't do, you can also set up that people are automatically admitted into your group, into your private group. I don't do that either, because I want to see who's joining, because I can follow up with those people. The best thing that Joan could do is she posts that Facebook Live, the top 3 reasons why you need to start intermittent fasting today. Join me in my private Facebook group at 2:00, because I'm going to be teaching you the 3 secrets to be successful and exactly what you need to get started with intermittent fasting. I click to join her group. Not only does she accept me and go, great, my post worked, she now goes, hey, Lindsay, thanks so much for joining my group. She sends me a private message. You know, you must be interested in intermittent fasting. I'd love to chat with you one-on-one to talk more about this with you. My Facebook Live's at 2:00. Do you have time at 3 to chat? I can give you a call. Right? Because we're able to track now the influence and the journey. And that's how we turn a follower into a lead. We've talked about this. A follower is just someone who watches your content. A lead is someone who wants to do business with you and has shown some form of interest. So how do I develop that lead? Get them into the group. Yes, Peggy?
Okay, so, but would you have a public group to tantalize them to do that invitation, and then they go to the private group if they want more?
I would honestly just mostly use your personal Facebook page.
I don't use my Facebook page for business. That's my,
I totally get that. Here's just my 2 cents, and people obviously can choose to do whatever they want. And I think I actually said this last week in terms of with recruiting. You may not always be working the business 100% of the time, but we need to be ready for business 100% of the time, especially in network marketing and direct sales. Most of your business will come through social interactions, right? It's not just about like, I'm just going to post business all day long or have this totally side business page. It's getting social with people. It's sharing like on your personal page, you know, in the morning that you made like a true health shake, and, you know, and maybe you're with like your husband on a walk, or you're with your grandkids at a soccer game and you're posting that. So you're sharing a little bit of both, but it's really being able to build out a personal brand, which we've done a training on that before, but that was on a Thursday one that I did with Ben about what is a personal brand. So I totally understand that people want to keep personal things just separate, but it's also where I see a lot of people stall in their business, because you start looking at all of your social connections as I just want you to be personal, but where do I now find business connections? It's going to come through your social connections and referrals from those people. So that's just my 2 cents. Like, I always teach people to utilize their personal page because, in indirect sales, it's always going to be starting with your warm market. Your warm market's not going to build your business. Your warm market is your friends and family, right? But they can point you to the people that actually help you build your business. So it's like, I don't want my cousin to be my best customer necessarily, because she probably won't be, but I want my cousin's neighbor to become my best customer. I want my cousin's sister or my cousin's best friend to become my best customer, because that's how this sort of business really grows. In that case, if it's like, I don't want to do anything personal, that's when you have to start leaning into like, okay, I have to invest in ads. I really need to be going to networking events. I need to be putting myself in social situations where I can be constantly talking about my business. But even if you have a public group, where do you find those people to get into your public group to then try to move them into your private one? Where would you promote that? Right? People aren't just going to stumble across group posts. You have to be connecting socially. And so that's going to happen through our personal accounts and by, going into other people's communities and really being at networking events. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? Like my answer there?
Yes and no.
What part of the no?
Well, it's just that because I sort of visualized that the public group would be the funnel to the private group, and the private group is where I think you see my comment there. And the private group is where you do the part 2 and where you would support your downline that's there and all that. Where part 1 is the what instead of the page, the group. So you would post encouraging words, and you also and things like that. On my Facebook page, I do sometimes will share things just on a lot of different topics. So it's not that I just post funny things, which I do, but
and that's perfect to have a personal page where you're not just you don't want to just talk about the business. You do want to show like other sides of you. You do want to post, like little things that help boost your engagement, to just like genuinely showing up as a person by adding in something like, and I will say even a Facebook page or a public group, you're adding in a whole extra step for yourself, because you still have to find people to go to that public spot first and then get them over. It's like, I'm trying to think of a real world example, but just, I'm going to be doing a free talk at the park every Saturday, because I want people to join my private meeting at the library on Fridays. Well, how are you going to tell people to even meet you at the park to come? Right? Like, you can hope that you can scream out into the abyss and that someone will listen. But on social media, it's not like you're the only person in the park. There's everyone standing in the park talking. And so it's that whole extra step of, well, now where do I find these people to go to my business page? That's why to get more people to see your business page, you have to spend money. And that's the step there is I'm going to, boost these posts. I'm going to target certain audiences so that it comes up as a sponsored post. And if I have a free public group where group posts don't, unless somebody is like following the group or has seen it, it's not ever really going to show up in their newsfeed. So how do I get people in there? Right?
So Lindsay, David, question, what are some examples of things you can post? Because I think what Peggy is saying, we don't want to, put pictures of all our Manatech products on our personal page and be doing the business all the time. And I know it's like a little bit every once in a while we say something, but what are some things we can say that are not salesy, but grab their interest so that they go over to your personal group?
Yes. So
page.
yes, I love that. And so even just kind of going back to, let's use like Joan's example of intermittent fasting.
Okay.
So what you could do on your personal page, you're being personal, right? And that's always going to be the focus, is like, I'm not being, David, the Manatech rep. I'm just being, David Rundle. This is who I am. This is my page. And so by showing up there, using something like intermittent fasting, for an example, you could post something like, hey friends, just wanted to share some like progress with you. I've started intermittent fasting. over the last few weeks. Here's some awesome benefits that I've seen. If you're interested at all, you can join my group to find out more, right? So we're not talking about, I used this product, or, you know, look at our new Mighty Bears for this, or look at, you know, this new product for that. It's talking about sharing our story and our benefits, right? And it's going,
Okay.
you know, I made this True Health Shake for breakfast. You don't have to say True Health Shake, but been starting my morning every morning with a protein shake, and, you know, it's set me up for better habits throughout the day. You know, join my Facebook group if you're wanting to learn more. Or when people comment on it, you don't always have to have join my group, but when people comment on it and looking for more information, right? Like there's someone who posted on, is a friend of mine, and she is in direct sales, and she posted like, oh, I've started a new skincare regime, and I just wanted to share this before and after. I'm seriously wowed. That's all she said. And she got so many comments of people saying, well, what are you using? And she was just like, I'll DM you. She wasn't really sharing the product publicly at all, because she also knew, I can sell this better in a conversation with you. If I just post the product,
Yeah.
you're going to decide for yourself in that moment whether you like it or not.
Right.
And then people look at me as just being a salesperson. It's
Okay.
just showing your lifestyle. Like Manatech is a lifestyle, right? It's like, I'm investing in my wellness. This is something that I do every day, from personal development to taking my supplements to, you know, how I feel, the energy I have in a day. And so it's sharing that personal side of it without focusing on the product per se. So it's still that like why, it's share my lifestyle, but join my group if you want to find out more about the products that I'm using. Or, you know, you talk about, oh, intermittent fasting. If some of you maybe like you want to talk about intermittent fasting, but you don't do it yourself, post to your social media and say, hey guys, how many of you have ever done intermittent fasting? I'm thinking of starting it on Monday. You know, do you want me to share my results with you all? And people will say yes, right? And then you're gonna be able to build conversations from there. So you're not promoting the product per se or being overly salesy. You're just sharing what it is that you're doing with people online. Because yeah, those friends and family, that warm market, and think about it. Your Facebook, think about how many true friends and family you have, but how many people you have as friends on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just your best friends and your family. Those people are going to look at just your personal things. And Mary said too, you can also use custom lists. So if there's something like, you know, I want to share my grandkids, but I don't want everyone to see this, you can always create a custom list of close family and friends where you limit a post. So not everyone can see that type of content. But using your personal page is always going to be the best way to kind of funnel those people. And does that answer your question, David, a
Yeah,
little
that
bit?
helps.
Okay.
And would you?
Yeah, I appreciate that, David.
Would you put the direct link, or would you just put the name of the group, join my personal group, Building Healthy Futures?
So if you're going to promote something like content specific, so going back to the example of, you know, I talked about on my page why intermittent fasting is helpful, and, you know, join me at 2 o'clock to hear my top 3 secrets. Definitely post the link. If you're just sharing something about, oh, I've like, you know, started these new shakes every morning, I'm really loving it, have so much more energy, and it's just like a photo of you drinking it or just a photo of your shake. You don't necessarily have to post that at all. Sometimes people will just comment going, oh, that looks delicious, Dave. What kind of shake is that? And just write, I'll DM you. And then you can send them a message and be like, oh, it's our new True Health Shakes. And then you can send them some info on it and say, by the way, like, don't forget to join my group if you're not already in there, because I'm going to be sharing tomorrow in the morning. I'm going to go on live and share how I make it.
Okay.
And we also, on the side, we have places where we could put links, like our own links, so that it can be always
on your
there,
personal page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always, that's advertising free.
Definitely. And I think that was I think that's the second training ever that I did on a Saturday, was sort of how to set up your personal page. And so you can actually put in clickable links in your bio on your personal page. And so you would have the link to like your free group there. You could have the link to your Manatech website there. And so that, you know, we talked about week 1 and week 2, definitely. about, and all things we can revisit too. I think sometimes I think like, I've already trained that. I need to just keep moving forward and training new things, but it's good to keep, I think, going back and revisiting because we forget, or we did it and we forgot to why we did it. But setting up like your business billboard, right? So when somebody comes to your Facebook page, they know right away what it is that you do. And they know like, oh, there's other things that like I can engage with this person on. But I know it's always like, I always get a bit of resistance from people about talking about things on their personal page. But it really is just the world we're in now of like, this is how social media works. And I just love to remind people, you may not do this business full time, but you're 100% of the time open for business and looking for leads, because that's how this business works. It's a social business. It's who do you know who, it's telling people, it's showing off what we're doing. And, you know, even just an example I'd use for David, which I think is important to mention, of something like, you know, I said, oh, you know, you're drinking your True Health shake every day and you make it so delicious. And I said to him, you know, say like, I'm going to go live tomorrow while I make it to show you guys what I put in it. When you think about content for social media, when we try to separate our personal lives from it, you create so much work for yourself. You sit down, you go, what can I teach? What content can I show? Teach what you're already doing. Because one, you know how to do that. And two, you're not adding more time. So if you have a True Health shake every day, tomorrow when you make it, just go live on Facebook. There's content right there. And guess what? You're making your shake like you do every single morning, and you get to drink it after and move on with your day. We don't have to add more to our plate. It's just going, how can I share more of my life with people? How can I click that live button? Yes, Martha?
Lindsay, 2 questions. Do we still stick to the 80-20 rule? And when you say you can't go private to public, are you referring to sharing? We can't share a post in a private group to a public page. Is that what you're talking about?
No, but that's also true. What you just said, you can't share a private post to a public page. But what Peggy brought up was she had created a private group and she tried to change the setting to allow it to be a public group.
Okay.
And Facebook wouldn't allow her to change that. You can go from public, it makes sense. You can go from public to creating it private, because now you're just creating a bit more safety. You can't promise like this is a private community and then, you know, everything you posted last week, you know, complaining about your husband, I'm going to show publicly to the rest of the world.
That
right?
makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah. And like, especially, you know, too, in our industry of like health, people's health is very personal to them. And there's a lot of shame because people often blame themselves for their health too. And so they're really afraid to ask for help. I think I've shared before too, that sometimes when I try to encourage my mom, which she's actually gotten a lot better, but when I try to encourage my mom to new habits, she often says, oh, Lindsay, it's too late for me anyway. That's always her line. It's too late for me anyway. Right? Because I think that's what a lot of people, you know, once they get to a certain age, that's their just thinking, but you guys know that that's not true. And so that's also something to think about, right? And this is why it's important to talk to friends and family, because it's not always about, hey, like, I just started this new business with Manatech, or, you know, hey, cousin Sally, I wanted to talk to you about my business opportunity. It's just, hey, you know, can I pick your brain? Right? Can I pick your brain about this? Because remember, I said great marketing is a response to a conversation that's already happening. So to even take something like my mom says, I'm too far gone. It's already too late for me. I can't reverse any of these things. She's like, Lindsay, I've been, you know, smoking since I was in like grade 6 or 7. Like there's, you know, I'm too far gone. There's nothing I could do. You know, she would relate to Joellen so much about being a caretaker. I'm not sure if Joellen's still here with us, but in that she says to herself, like, my only job is to take care of your dad. I can't even worry about taking care of me. And I try to remind her, but you can't take care of dad if you don't take care of yourself. And she is starting to get a bit better with that. But look at things like, how can I have these conversations? How can I reach, people of different ages, people my age in their 30s, we're starting to understand the impact of our choices on our health. Because in our 20s, we think we're completely invincible and nothing's going to happen to us. And we can worry about all those things later. And then, in your 30s and 40s, you start to get little signs of things that go, okay, I need to take a little bit better care of myself. My husband's going through this right now in terms of with the baby coming. He's like, I got a lot of stuff to sort out with my health, right? Because we live for other people so much of the time. And, but yeah, just thinking about some of those sort of conversations with people too can really help with like marketing. And actually one of the objections from today was, I don't want to bug my friends and family. And which is pretty funny. And so the answer, I'd written it, and I'm going to share all these slides with you after. It says what I put under it. So I don't want to bug my friends or family. Response, thank goodness, because I don't want you to bug your friends or family either. That's not what I do. I share what I'm doing and I pick their brains to see if there's anyone that they know that this would be great for. I simply use a referral approach, asking who they know. And sometimes they actually identify themselves. But we do that all the time. We ask for referrals for babysitters, dry cleaners, mechanics they know. So it's really no different, right? It's reminding ourselves, I already have these conversations with people. Why do I think it's so scary? Because it's now about Manatech. I talk about great mechanics. I talk about great restaurants. I talk about great cleaning products. I talk about, great seasonings. I talk about, all these different things. I ask my cousins for referrals. My sister is the first person I call when I've tried a great product. So now that it's because we are so passionate about it and we've created a business around it, all of a sudden we clam up and we think, I can't talk to anybody about these things. Right? So think about, how do I share about this regularly? Right? How do I promote something without being salesy? Right? I'm not calling my sister going, hey, Haley, oh my gosh, I just tried this new mop. I bought it on Amazon. It's amazing. It's only $14.99. And if you click sign up right now, I can get it sent to your house and, grab your credit card, right? I'm not selling her. I'm not pushing her. I'm just saying, I'm sharing. I'm telling the benefits and I'm sharing my story. Haley, I got this mop. You won't believe it. It's more compact. It's so much easier. Like, it's made my floors cleaner and the handle extends. And because it's a flat base, I can actually get up in the walls without water dripping on me. It's amazing. Oh my God, send me the link. That's how my sister and I talk about a great product. But when I think I'm now, because I'm not in a business mindset, right? I'm sharing value with someone I care about. When we switch to a business mindset, we start thinking about the features and the facts and the information. We start going, well, this is how much it is. And if you buy it right now, you can get this extra bonus and blah, 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 blah. We totally forget to talk about the value. And so mind, your conversations. Watch how you talk about things. When I was in the field, I watched QVC all the time and the Home Shopping Network, because they always sold things so easily. I'm like, how do they compel like thousands and thousands of people to pick up the phone to buy this product right now? And it's how they talk about it, right? And so just when we think about sharing on our personal page, what makes us clam up is that we don't want to be too salesy or businessy. So don't. Because guess what? Has it ever really worked for you anyways? No, not really. Sometimes it might, but the people that the direct business conversations work with are the people you've already warmed up, right? The people that are like, I'm a yes, you've already convinced me, let's go. I watched your Facebook Live yesterday, or, I saw that you've lost all this weight. I'm interested in doing what you're doing. You look healthier, you look happier, you look wealthier, right? I want to know. I guess when we post a promo type of post, we can exclude family. Yeah, you can. And you can also still post it, because sometimes our family could be our best customers, but we assume that they're not going to be. And so because we're afraid that they're going to think that we're Looney Tunes and we're annoying them. Guess what? They're your family. You already annoy them. So don't be afraid to talk about it. That's why even in that, little sort of example is that when you ask them for a referral, sometimes they identify themselves, right? One of my great friends, who's a top leader with Pampered Chef, and I believe that I've shared this story before, but it was a long time ago, so people maybe weren't
You
there.
forget.
Exactly. We all forget. And which is why I say the same stories over and over. But she was top leader in Pampered Chef. And she, for some time, and her neighbor was, she had a pretty good job, like a corporate type job. Her husband was a doctor. They lived in like this big, beautiful home. And so she never approached her friend about the opportunity, her neighbor, because she thought to herself, she's well off. She doesn't need this. And she knows that I do Pampered Chef. So if she really wanted to do this with me, she already would have asked. Right? So we make all these assumptions about people. They don't need this opportunity. When in fact, people need it for a variety of reasons, right? We know that income is only one reason why people start a direct sales business, just one. Sometimes it's friendships, community, flexibility, personal growth, peer recognition, incentives, etc. So this woman, she'd come to her open houses. She was always like supportive, buying some things. And then she lost her job. And my friend, nervous as heck, decided, I'm going to just let her know that I do have this opportunity. So she said, hey, I know, that you shared with me that you lost your job. And no pressure. She said, I was totally already talking myself out of it when I was saying it to her. No pressure, but just so you know, I do always have room for you on my team. If this is something you've ever considered, if you're looking for some income in the meantime. And do you want to know what this woman said to her? She cried. She cried and said, Lydia, I have been waiting for you to ask me for the last 10 years to do this business with you. I assumed because you never asked me. She goes, I'd go to your open houses and I'd see you ask other people and you never asked me. And so I thought you just didn't want to work with me. I thought that you didn't think I'd be good at this. Right? We have assumptions and other people do too. I remember when I started mine, I had this girl, God bless her. She was probably like 21, 20, maybe even 19. She was young. And she sent me a really long message on Facebook and said, I just wanted you to know that I look up to you so much. And it is on my dream board to eventually be a part of your business. And she's like, what does it take to get there? Like, how do you apply? How do they get selected? I've been just, I'm trying to work on myself so that I can get picked to do this business with you. And I was like, oh my God, Kira, that's not how it works. Like, you can start right now. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that I didn't make that more accessible to you. And that's because I talked to her about my business so many times, but I was always too afraid to ask. We're so afraid to ask people, is this something you've ever thought about doing? Right? Have you ever thought about doing something like this? Or, hey, just so you know, I'm looking for more people to add to my team. People ask you a lot of questions. If you ever do an in-person event too, anyone who like lingers around you and asks more stuff, anyone who asks more questions on your Facebook Live, right? Those are people that are saying, please ask me to do this with you, but I'm too scared to ask you. Because people look at you as like the expert. You're the business owner. And they're like, maybe they don't want to work with me. And this woman, corporate executive, married to a doctor, living in a multi-million-dollar home, was too afraid to say to her neighbor, I want to do this. And Lydia said, I didn't think that you ever wanted to. And she goes, like, I make really good money, but my kids, they're starting to have kids now. And I would just love to have a bit more of a flexible schedule. I'd love to, I don't need all that much money. We have like, my husband makes good money. We have good savings. I'd like a little bit of extra play money here and there. You're always going on these vacations. I would love to go on a girls' trip. And I just, I want to be able to help my daughter out more with her kids. The income was a very, very small part of it for her, but she wanted like so much more from it. People will work their tushies off to be top sales, not for the check at the end of it, but because they want to walk across that stage at convention. And they want to be recognized because they spent 10, 20, 30 years in a job that they were just another employee number. Right? There's so many benefits to what we have. And so we always have to be in the mindset of asking. The worst thing someone can say is, no, I'm not interested in that. Right? And we talked a few weeks ago, never take a no, always get a yes. The yes doesn't mean pushing them to say yes to the big question of, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to join? It's great. Sometimes like, it's great. Like they're going to be your best customer. They may not become an associate with you, but they're going to be your best customer and they're going to refer you. But the yes is great. Like, do you want to join my Facebook group? Great. Can I maybe follow up with you if something ever changes? It's getting them to say, they said no, but make sure the conversation ends in a yes. Because you have somewhere to go from there and you're changing their mindset to it just in talking to you, because they're not leaving with I feel a little icky. I just had to tell Joan, like, no, I don't want to do business with you. And now I don't know how to carry on this conversation. Joan says, great, that's totally fine. I appreciate you as like one of my VIP customers. Do you want to join my group? I'm actually doing a free training next week. I'd love for you to check it out. Sure. Yes. Right. We're always going for the yes. We just make the yeses smaller and smaller as they say no, but it helps us keep the conversation going. And if someone keeps saying no, 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 why is that a yes for you? You get to cross them off the list. You go, this is awesome. They don't want to join my group. They don't want to buy a product. They don't want to do business with me. They don't want me to follow up with them. Great. This is not somebody I need to lose sleep over anymore. Moving on. Because do you want to, sometimes like I would laugh at my team. They'd push so hard to recruit people that like they could not get off the fence and they were so wishy-washy. And I said, do you know what a wishy-washy lead becomes? A wishy-washy team member. Do you know what an annoying lead becomes? An annoying team member. I'm like, move on. If it doesn't, like, you want to be excited about the people that you're working with. And that's their own stuff to go through. And funny enough, those people, if you just said, okay, no problem, I understand now is not the right time for you. Do you know how many times they go, wait, or they follow up with you a few months later? Hey, so I thought about it a little bit more and I do want to do this. Right? So I think that this was really good today in answering some of these questions. And it was a good reminder for me that I don't have to keep trucking along and like new things. I think it's time for us to start. We've been doing this for months. Let's start going back. Let's do a few weeks of like some back to basics. And I think that's a great way to encourage other people to come back and join us, right? Or someone who's never come to a training before. Lindsay's going to talk about some simple things we can do to get started. And then I am going to, I'll just quickly share as we're ending, but I am going to put this into a PDF for you all and just post it. And then if you have questions on it, you can bring that up next week. So they're just some scripts that you guys can use in your conversation for people that say like, I don't have money. There's a few different examples here for that one. I'm so busy. I don't have enough time to do this. Here's two different.
Rocket funnel.
Yeah. I'm not a salesperson. Here's some stuff here for you. I don't know anybody. Here's some things. I don't want to bug my friends and family. I need to try the products first. I need to talk to my spouse. I need to think about it. And then just, answering the objection should always move you to a yes, just like I just said. It's either yes, I'm going to join, or yes, let's chat more about it, right? Sometimes in an initial recruiting conversation, your goal isn't to get them to join in that moment. It's to get them to say yes to a follow-up meeting with you. If they're not ready to join on the spot, that's always obviously our first goal, right? You're not going to go like, no, I know you're ready to join now, but let's talk tomorrow, right? No, sign them up on the spot. But if they say, I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my husband, great. I love that. Why don't, how does tonight sound? Why don't we chat at 7 o'clock? Does that give you enough time? Right? It's to get the follow-up meeting. And then just ended with some, other tips about how to close. Once you've, done that objection, how do we move forward in the conversation? Right? We talked about this question. How ready are you to start on a scale of 1 to 10? That can be a really powerful question to see sort of where someone's at. If you sent them some information and now you're in a follow-up conversation, what made you most excited about the information you read? Focus on the things that make them pumped up. How much money would you need to make on a monthly basis to make it worth your while? Right? If somebody's kind of on the fence about that, what are you looking for? Right? Because you also want people to be realistic. And this also helps you start training them. Right? And you're almost onboarding them right away. How long would you be willing to give me to help you make that happen? Someone who's on the fence, I don't know if I could do this. Well, how long would you be willing to give me? Right? Do you know what? I'd be willing to do this for 6 months and then we'll revisit. Great. Are you ready to get started? Obviously, powerful question. And I can give you a call right now. Right? We always want to be getting them on the phone to process it right away. So I'm going to turn this actually into a PDF and I'm going to post it for all of you to go through. Okay. And
do you have one there that says, oh, I've been there, done that, didn't work?
I don't have that one, but I can definitely add it. It's just reminding people too, like,
yeah,
we talked about last week. It's always asking people, okay, well, what did you learn? So been there, done that, didn't work. Great. What did you learn? Like, what part of that made you fail? Great. Now that you know that, you're not going to repeat those same mistakes. And as your leader, I am here to train you. Most people who failed the business, I told you last week, number one reason they leave, do we remember? They quit because it was harder than they thought it was going to be. And do you know how many of those people who they attribute their failure more to is their upline? So that's when you say, I'm glad that you've actually tried this before and you failed. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs failed over and over until they got it right because you learned every step of the way. We can get you signed up. We can talk about all the ways that didn't work for you, and we're not going to use those strategies for you, right? You learned a lot from that business you can bring to this one. And as with me as your leader, I am going to be there for you. Unlike the support that you had before. It's reminding them that their failures actually made them stronger, not weaker. It's telling them, yes, you failed. I shared last week that my coach said she went to a mastermind of all these, and she was a facilitator, so she wasn't a participant, but she, it was like 7-8 figure earners. And they don't share their success stories. They share their failure stories. They start every session with what was my biggest failure? Or how did I fail this week? And they like cheer for each other at the end of it because they always have an aha moment from it. Or they say how they failed and someone else goes, been there, done that. Here's what I did. Great. I'm going to try that at my next meeting. Thank you for that. Like start highlighting and like glamorizing failures because they're so important in business. And so when someone says, been there, done that, great. I'm so glad because now you know all the things to not do in this business, which means we're so much closer to figuring out exactly what you need to succeed. And with me as your leader, I'm here for you every step of the way. How would that make you feel hearing that? It makes you feel empowered and supported. It makes you go, okay, I thought I was starting in the negatives if I was going to start this business, but you're telling me I'm actually starting ahead of everyone else. Absolutely. You've been here before. You know what doesn't work. So let's not do those things. Right? It's listening, listen, and empower. Always, always assume that your lead is a whole, full, like fully capable, resourceful, intelligent, skilled human being. They're not flawed. They're not unskilled. They're not confused. They are fully capable and resourceful. And so when those things come up, but I failed, but I don't know this. Great, we're not going to do those things. Lindsay, everything I've tried, I failed. Well, what was something that you think you've started anytime in your life that you succeeded at? Maybe it was a new habit. Maybe it was at work. Well, you know what? I wanted to become a vegetarian. And so I've been pretty successful at that. Great. What made you successful at that? Well, I got really passionate. I learned about our farming system. Great. Like you're learning about how they were successful at something. How can you apply some of that same mentality and structure to this business? What makes you really passionate about this? What would make you go all in? Ask people, what have you succeeded at before? And when they tell you how they failed, great. Now we know what not to do, which puts you a heck of a lot closer to figuring out what to do. Empower them. They are whole, fully capable, resourceful, skilled human beings. And so don't be so afraid to talk to them. Awesome. You guys are amazing. I think this call ended up being so much better. So we're going to start returning back to some basics. And I think very similar to even how it was at the beginning of when we did some trainings. I tried to keep my training always to like at the beginning to like 20 minutes. And then we were able to chat more and have more questions. I think this is where the best content's coming from. So let's start doing smaller trainings of like, here's one task to go do. We'll do that. And then we open the rest up for questions. Does that sound good for everybody? So we're not so overloaded with an hour of new training every single week. Awesome. Awesome. And no two coming up. So, I mean, everyone knows that I'm pregnant. At some point, I will no longer be pregnant and I will have a human being that I'm taking care of. So I am working on some things to launch while I am taking some time as a new mom. And one of the things I'm going to be creating is called playbooks, which are going to be trainings, but there's going to be a video component that's pre-recorded, but then I'm calling them playbooks so that you can go in and it's like steps of what to do. So that you don't always have to watch a training. You can maybe watch it one time and then go, great, I'm going to go to the playbook now. That's telling me exactly how to set up my group or exactly how to have a conversation. I think that will definitely be beneficial moving forward. So just know that that is something that I am working on for everybody so that you all don't miss me too much. Sound good? Awesome. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Saturday. I literally say this every single week, but before I got on, I was so sick. I was crying to Derek. I'm like, I think I should cancel this call. I feel awful. And I said to him, I'm like, but I know when I see their faces, they give me so much adrenaline and the hour flies by. So I know that you guys get so much from these conversations, but I get so much more from them. So thank you all for being here, for being present, for gifting me some of your time today. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and go start having more of those conversations. Bye, friends.